Hello, I'm Sheena, and this is a North Kinder Media podcast, and I am here with my husband, Derek, and we're going to talk about learning from champions. If you know me, I'm the sports guy in this relationship. I like playing sports.
I did play sports, though.
Yeah, you did. You're athletic. Yeah, you're really good at skiing.
I did play.
We crush
Hockey.
at pickleball. We're amazing.
I'm amazing at pickleball, I'd say. Yeah, you think you are.
He's yet to win. That's our son piping
Yeah,
up back
my-
there. He thinks he still
He thinks
is,
he's amazing at
is the
pickleball. He is
pickleball
amazing
guy.
at pickleball. He is amazing, but he has a lot of trash talk.
No, still, I say I'm the sports guy. I don't watch a lot of sports, but I like to play a lot of sports unless we're talking about tennis. I love watching tennis. It's so much fun. But yeah, learning from champions. And let's kick it off. So because I am a tennis player or an up and coming tennis player, let's see how that goes. It makes me think about athletes and how they develop themselves mentally to win. And how do we tie that back to business and how those two, they really do work together. So have you heard of Roger Federer, Derek?
I know who Roger Federer is because I had a pair of his shoes, and they were actually amazing. That was before I feel like On was really cool, or before it blew up.
And who got you those shoes, Derek?
So I bought them for you because it was like cutting edge.
I saw them and I thought, oh, those look cool. And then I looked it up and it was, in fact, Roger Federer, his first signature shoe. Have you heard of Michael Jordan?
Okay. Let's cool it there. Okay.
What? I just saying. That's who we're going to be talking about.
Okay. Michael Jordan. Yes. Michael Jordan.
Okay, so let's kick it off by talking about how Roger Federer and Michael Jordan, they're legends in their respective fields and not just in their business adventures, but other things that they have done.
Yeah.
And especially just focusing on their athletic performance. I look at it and say, how did their experience show that you don't have to win 100% of the time to be considered a success, and how do entrepreneurs apply that to their business mindset? And actually, I have some stats. So can I share that first?
Yep.
So out of his career, he won 103 singles titles. He won 20 Grand Slam championships.
Yep.
And he said in his speech, he said that although he had won 80% of his singles matches, if you were to look at the points that he individually won, he only won 54% of the individual points that he played. So you would look at him and be like, man, he crushed. He did 100%. He was just left, right, and center, 20 Grand Slams, but 54% of the individual points.
Okay.
So
For non-tennis players, what does that mean?
Well, he won his matches, but so that means that it was neck and neck for a lot of those games. For a lot of matches. Okay. Right? And then he just came out like 1 point on top or 2 points. And in tennis, they go love 15, 30, 40, from Nintendo tennis. You play that.
100%.
Mario Tennis. And then Michael Jordan, he played 15 seasons for the NBA and he won 6 NBA championships during his career as a professional basketball player. So that means out of 15 seasons, 9 of those, he didn't win an NBA championship, but he still comes away as a basketball legend. So I look at that and I'm sure and the reason that Roger Federer brought this up is he said, if we're to focus on those losses and those points that I missed, you lose the game, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at it and say, it's point by point, focusing on the task by task. And that was another thing that he had said is, I just went point by point. Can I win this point? Can I win this point? Not looking at the whole Grand Slam, not looking at the big tennis tournament. It can feel overwhelming. And then he also said to focus on having fun and just to be calm while you're playing.
Yeah, you got to enjoy it. So basically what he's saying is a lot of people think that if you're a winner and you're a champion, you win all the time. You never lose. You're perfect. You're killing it. But really, as we've seen, the world champion players are saying, "Hey, it was tight a lot of the times. We weren't always like just crushing it." Mm-hmm. And basically, instead of focusing on, the times we lost or the negative, you have to focus on the positive because you want to keep your emotional state healthy. If you're just like, "Hey, I'm not winning every single time," or I'm winning by 54% or whatever it was, instead of like 90%, I'm a loser. That's going to affect your joy and it's going to affect your emotional state. And probably he would have done a lot worse.
Because he's focusing on the points he didn't win instead of being like, okay, I didn't win that point, but I got another point coming. Yeah. I better focus on that point. Yeah. Right. And I know, for me in my entrepreneurial journey and starting North Kinder Clothing, it would be like, oh, sales last month weren't as good as they were the previous month. And if I just were to double down and be like, oh, such a tough month. And everyone I talk to focusing on, oh, tough month, sales are down. That's how you sink your ship. And so I know for you and me, when we would work on it, we'd be like, okay, well, what can we change up? What are customers telling us? What can we be different? Let's do a promotion with that.
Right.
Instead of focusing on the good things and going one point at a time.
Well, we always talk, one thing I like to say is it's like the deer in the headlight. So if you're focusing on the negative, you're actually you're going to run towards that negative. You're going to end up there. We know that it's your thoughts, what you focus on does determine your outcome, right? Even though here's the weirdest thing. Have you ever noticed when there's a car in the ditch or on the highway and it's driving and it goes into the ditch and there's these telephone or these light poles spaced really wide apart, but it's interesting how many times you'll notice this when you see this now, that car goes right towards and towards the light pole instead of in between, because I think people
they're going towards the thing they're trying to avoid.
They're saying don't hit the light pole. And so they focus on the light pole and not hit. So if they would focus on don't hit focus on the space, the open space.
Wow. Yeah. I thought this was cool. Michael Jordan, he famously said he failed over and over, and that's why he succeeded. How can business owners reframe losses as steps to path to success? What does that mean in real life business? I think we touched on that a little bit, but I want you to expand on that.
Yeah. It's the thing that I think I've learned now is when you're in school, I'm not, dunking on school, even though I sometimes
Our kids are in school.
But I'm like,
I did a lot of school. I did lots.
Yeah, they teach you there's one way and you have to do it perfect, right? When you take a test, there's one right answer. It has to be perfect. It has to exactly fit the format. So when it comes to business, a lot of people don't have the trick. Okay. So, no, I was just saying, so going back to school, so there's only one exact way to do it, only one perfect way to do it. And I think what happens is when you actually go into the business world, especially now with everything changing so much, nobody really knows exactly how to do some of these new things like AI and marketing and how everything's changing, social media. So I think the thing is, more than ever, I've realized that you actually have to test things, in a way that's not going to totally destroy your entire business, but you have to try all these different things and you have to try different avenues within your business and be okay with failing or looking bad or feeling like an idiot. But most people won't.
It's not even,
they don't even
it
care.
Wouldn't even be something that substantial.
Yeah. Like we've done some crazy stuff.
That was an idiot move. So I don't think that there's any deviation that you could take that would just tank your business. And really it's doing market research too at the same time. If you already have a business that's working, but you know that it can grow, it can scale, you can get more customers, you can get more clients, you can do more sales. Yeah. You have to just test it a little bit and see how people respond.
Well, it's because sometimes you don't know. Maybe, hey, I got to try. I'm going to lean into LinkedIn. I tried leaning into LinkedIn a little bit more recently and just kind of seeing what happens. And the result was different than I thought. I'm going to try, go back to Instagram and lean on Instagram a bit more. And you kind of test and figure things out as you go, but you have to actually try. You can't just listen. You can't just learn.
And I don't think that each avenue, there's no specific formula that you can, we can't even say that to our clients. But if you do this exact thing, you will for sure have success. There is,
where people used to come to us and say, hey, if you just do this, if you do these Facebook ads this way, it's going to blow up. It's going to be incredible. But what they didn't realize, guaranteed, success. They didn't have all the pieces of the puzzle, and it didn't actually work the way that we expected it. And so we learned that lesson. It's, again, things are moving so fast. You do have to try things and find something that works. And then when it works, don't stop doing that. A lot of people find that thing that works.
They're like, I did it.
And then they're like, okay, no, next thing. But it's like, no, if you can find something that actually brings success, just stick to that thing and, work on that thing. Keep growing that thing down that. So anyways, that's kind of my thoughts for that.
I think about this too, because you said, well, we're taught in schools that if you fail, we're always looking at the wrong answers. So I might have got 18 out of 20 on my test, but I'm going to go back and correct those 2 ones that I did wrong and take a look at those. I think personally, a lot of times it does have to do with mindset. And so how do you shift? Like if you're just trained that way, I'm always looking at the wrong thing. I'm always looking at the wrong thing, worried about sales, worried about this. I've learned that it's super important to have those mentors And I love Derek. You always say this, like you're not going to wake up one day and be like, I'm going to be a dentist today. And then you go and buy a dental clinic and start working on someone's teeth. That would be atrocious.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if dentists actually did that? I'd feel terrified. But for some reason, you know, a dentist, they have to go and get proper training. They have accountability. They have mentors that they go and get ongoing continuing education. But when it comes to business, and I kind of did the same thing, you're like, oh, this seems so easy. I can do it. And then you just start a business without any business knowledge because you're good at something. Yeah. And so
it's
when we're talking about Roger Federer and we're talking about Michael Jordan, they attribute their coaches. They attribute, you know, the mentors in their life, their parents, on that success and having someone to guide them through. So,
no, we would.
Tell me about that.
Awesome for us, especially. It would have been awesome to have mentors when we started out, or someone who could show us the ropes. I mean, our journey is kind of interesting, and it was, you know, at that time, especially, we did jump onto, like, you know, the local made clothing and all that kind of stuff. That was the trend. So we caught the wave at the right time. Yeah. But, you know, for instance, if we would have lived in Vancouver, it would have been so much easier just to plug into that community. The people that we all met, and how they already knew all these things that we didn't know because they've been doing it for 40 years. So there's a lot of lessons that we didn't learn.
And that's where the factories are. That's where the industry is. And there's just the higher population. So when you're looking at networking or you're doing even events, the people are all there.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's you know, it's a lesson learned. But again, I'm
but it doesn't mean that I
so
should, right? So you can't look at those things and say, well, I'm not in the perfect environment, so I guess I can't do it. Yeah. We're an oil and gas country.
Yeah. Our goal was just, hey, what if you know, we want these clothes anyways for our kids. They're going to wear them anyways. What if we could sell them to other people as well? And what if we just made a little bit of side income and we'd have fun doing it? And I remember, that was the goal. It wasn't like, hey, we're going to start this company. It's going to do 7 figures. We're going to do all these things.
Well, it grew into that. We moved the bar.
I'm just saying, we just started off being like, hey, even if you could make, you know, and I think that's where today a lot of people are in that spot where, you know, the goalposts have moved a little bit and they want to just make a little bit extra money. You should look at something and be like, hey, what if I just could make, you know, set a goal and be like a little bit extra money on the side and figure out that thing and do that to, you know, even just buy that or afford that family vacation you want to take, or do whatever, that car or whatever you want. There's so much opportunity now to try all these things and kind of do what we did.
One of the people that we like to listen to, Derek, he always says there's no excuse. Like, this is going to be harsh for some people, but there's really no excuse. Like, if you know, your kids are at sports, you can still be on your phone. You can still be doing things digitally instead of just coming home and be like, whew, you know, I put in a hard day's work. And you might be looking at me being like, Sheena, you don't understand. I work on the oil rigs, or I have a hard cleaning job and I'm physically tired. Yes, I totally understand. But really, if you want it, you got to go for it.
I mean, I think our big thing is we want, you know, God made us to enjoy our life. So if you're feeling like dissatisfied or you're not really enjoying your life, start, you know, even if you just start watching some of these YouTube videos or start looking at opportunities that might be something that really interests you and that you could potentially make money at, and just see what happens there, right?
And learning, you can always, this is going to sound cliche too, but you can always learn more. And that's, I mean, with starting North Kinder, that's what I did, is I'd be like, okay, well, who do I really like out there, or who do I look up to, and where are they? Well, what are the things that they're doing? What are the events that they're going to? What are the books that they're reading? And so
books are huge. I used to hate reading books, but now reading audio or listening to audiobooks, you know,
audio, it's so easy. You're driving around with your sports or getting your kids to like any place, you can just plug in and listen.
Because, you know, people talk about like some of these books, that is a person's entire life condensed into a book, all the things that they've ever learned. So you get to, in, I don't know, 3 hours of listening, get to actually have that person's knowledge that they spent a lifetime acquiring. That is amazing. And so I find that once I started to do all this learning and I became obsessed with like learning about all these different
You
things,
do become
marketing and
obsessed.
business. And like, I'm like,
You do.
what? And fine. And
Yeah.
there's a world that I didn't know existed out there. And it's so addictive. And you start to like, I mean, we're in a month into the year already. And I think I have 2 books under my belt, but already, you know, on top of that, a ton of podcasts and YouTube videos so that I'm learning other things at the same time. But, you know, 2 really groundbreaking books. And it's like, yeah, you should learn and you should expand. I mean, if your life isn't what you want it to be, you might as well start right now taking steps to learn how you could make it what you want it to be. Because it is possible, right?
So would you call the books that you read, would that be your coach, your mentor?
Yeah, there is definitely
The
some
Michael
of that
Jordan coach?
Yeah, 100%. So anyways, no, it's been amazing.
I want to expand on that. So right thinking versus wrong thinking. So going back to this wrong thinking versus right thinking. And the reason that I wanted to talk about this topic is I was driving Royal to tennis this morning and he was talking about his ninja competition that he was in last weekend.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I really blew it on those obstacles and just really hyper focused on the obstacles that he didn't make. Even though he crushed and did amazing and so well on a lot of the obstacles, like more than 50%. And so it made me think about, well, even though you successfully did a ton of obstacles, why are we focusing on the ones that you didn't make? And how is that going to frame how you're a success in your athlete? And how is that going to frame your success as an athlete moving forward?
Right.
So it just made me expand on that. And so maybe you could talk about this, Derek, because you're really good at this, focusing on the right thing, focusing on the wrong thing, and how your life comes out of what you're actually thinking about. And I like this. This is something that it's something I heard about, but now it's really something that I feel like gotten in a little bit deeper is who you think you are or believe that you are. That's the person that you are.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, the Bible says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. And then, you know, I had that Instagram post the other day about, you know, when we were in Little Rock this year. And I remember
we had the best shrimp and grits. And it was a chef from Louisiana.
I saw these 2 guys running and they were both like just jacked and shredded. And I was like, that is awesome. I'm like, I would like to be like that. I'd like to get way more in shape. And I'm like, and the thought came into my head. It's like, okay, well, you probably have like a year or 2 years before you could develop into that. And then you could become that person. But then that came into my mind that, you know what, the day that you decide to take action, you are that person. Mm-hmm. So the day that you hit the gym and actually take action and start moving in that direction, and start eating that way, you actually become that person. You're that person.
The gym
but the results just haven't shown up yet necessarily. Mm-hmm. Day one, you don't see the results. You actually get a lot of pain instead. And it seems like the opposite is happening. Now you're in pain and you don't look any different. But in reality, you have become that person if you stay consistent and then you get those results eventually, right?
Yeah. So would you say that's focusing on the right thing?
Yeah, focusing on the right thing.
Well, and that's what I said to Royal. I said, well, let's look at it and say, look at all the obstacles that you were successful at and how you did do really well, instead of looking at the ones that you didn't complete or where there was a mishap. And even if there was a mishap, well, how did that go wrong? How can you change it the next time? How can you reframe it instead of viewing everything out of all the stuff that you've done wrong? Like, how heavy and horrible would that be if we all thought that way? Like, oh, I just can't get it right. So because I'm the sports guy and I want to just bring it back to sports and winning, because I want to win at life. I want to be successful in all of our business endeavors. And even though there are bad days, I really do try to focus on the good stuff. I think we do have a really good life hack that anything does go wrong, or even personally, we flip it around. We flip the script. Derek, you and I will be like, okay, well, how are we going to change this? We're focusing and we're going to push this forward.
Hit back.
Yeah. We're going to hit back, right?
Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur, business owner, what are some champion mindsets that you can bring into your daily business routine? And how do you build those habits that mirror like the kind of mental resilience that you would see in top athletes? Can you give me some of that?
Well, I think, again, if you have a clear vision of where you're going and what you're going to do, and have belief in that, you have to keep belief. So even if you have like, this is who I want to become, and write down that goal for 30 days, if you keep that belief in front of you and write it down, look at it and believe it. And if you really believe it and stick with it, You do your part and God will do his part.
How important is it to actually write it down?
It's very important. Yeah. You have to write it down and look at it and focus on it. And, and the Bible says, write the vision and make it plain. Because if people don't have a clear, defined vision and before them every day, it's very hard because everything's nebulous. You're like, well, what did I think I was.
It's like shooting at with no target, or if there's no target in place.
Yeah. Put the target in front of you and just go after that and just try it for 30 days. See what happens.
Successful athletes, they visualize, they look at the game.
Yeah.
They look at making those baskets. They look at getting their serves in. They're constantly visualizing and mentally. And I'm sure if you were to ask Michael Jordan and Roger Federer, did you ever imagine or believe that you could win a championship? They would say, yes, of course. Because if they're only imagining losing, well, your life flows out of what you're imagining, what you're believing. So
100%.
I like that. Write it down. And again, I think like some people are like, it's so cheesy, but we've seen success in our life by writing it down and focusing on the right thing.
Yeah, 100%.
So the other thing you said is try it. Just try it for 30 days. I know for me, and especially all the other moms out there, like, I got to make these big drastic changes and do them consistently and do it for 5 years and never miss a day. That can be a tough commitment to say yes to. But if you're like, I'm trying this for 30 days, and if I miss a day in those 30 days, you just pick it back up again. This is who I am. This is what I'm trying. And I'm going to see what the outcome is. So
it's awesome.
I like that, Derek. That's great. Big business guy.
All right. Well,
all right. Well, thank you so much for watching. And thank you, Derek, for letting me pick your brain on positive mindset and how that really does affect your business. And if you are looking for a mentor or coach, you can always DM myself at North Kinder and Derek. And we, join the club.
In the right direction.
Get you in the right direction, because if we go back to it's who you think you are is how your life, it comes out of that. And just having the right mindset and then grow that business, baby. Let's do it. Let's go.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks so much.